It's day 6 of 10 days thinking about Anne of Cleves, and today we're going to think about her marriage to none other than Henry VIII. I know we all want to scream, run away, woman, run away, but she's here. She's made that crossing from Cleves in Germany to England, and she's ready to become the Queen of England. Little does she know what's in store for her. Now, I found some very interesting things out, which I'll be covering in the next 5 days, so make sure you follow along if you're not already. Anne arrived in England on the 27th of December 1539. She spent a little bit of time, not long ago actually. She arrived at Deal Castle at 5 p.m, spent a little bit of time resting, and then she was taken to Dover, and she arrived there by 11 p.m. And she wasn't expecting to see Henry for quite a few days. Anne's taken to Rochester Palace. She spends New Year's Day there resting, and as I said, she wasn't expecting to see Henry for a little while. Now, I'm sure you've heard this story, but Henry gets his idea in his head that it would be good to go in disguise and surprise Anne. He doesn't want to wait. He's impatient to meet the new love of his life. Now, this isn't an original thought of Henry's. This is a chivalric tradition that if the love is true, you will recognise each other despite the costume, whatever you might be wearing. So Henry and 5 members of his Privy Council wear marble coloured cloaks. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but they've got these cloaks on. They head off to meet Anne. Now, Henry sends in someone ahead of him. Now, she is pretty tired. She's had that long old journey she's still not quite recovered from. And she's been greeting people all day. Remember, her English isn't very good. It must have been incredibly overwhelming for her. Anyway, Henry sends in, I think it was Anthony Brown, I should check. He sends in somebody anyway to say, there's someone about to come in and they're going to give you a gift from the king. Now, Anne is looking out the window. She's watching the bull baiting down in the courtyard below. Again, as I said, probably she's probably peopled a bit too hard that day anyway, so whatever. So this person comes in with this gift for the king, and Anne kind of barely even looks up. I mean, maybe the fact it's a gift from the king, maybe she should have shown a bit more interest. Maybe she also probably should have been warned what was going on. So Henry obviously approaches her with this gift. She's not interested. He then tries to embrace her and kiss her, and she's obviously a little bit repelled by this older man who's, not all that great to look at. Probably doesn't smell all that great either, let's be honest. So she pushes him off, and Henry's obviously really cross. Why he thought this would work, I don't know. Apparently Henry V tried a very similar thing, and again, it didn't go well for him either. So, but it's Henry. We don't expect logical thought particularly, do we? So she's cast him off. He's not very happy. When he reveals who he is, she obviously, bows down, apologises, puts on the whole act that she's supposed to. Henry makes a show of, not really minding, it's all in jest. He takes her away to a room where they spend some time chatting. Now, it's pretty clear Henry doesn't like her. Personally, I think it's just a case of wounded pride. This whole time that she spent with all these other nobles, people who know the king, no one seemed to have raised any sort of concern that she's not attractive enough necessarily. Now, he famously didn't like her. I'm going to read you what he says. He says, "I liked her so ill, and so far contrary to that she was praised, I woe she ever came to England." So he's not necessarily just criticising how she looks, he's criticising the people who have praised her and said how wonderful he is, but he can't fault her manners, he can't fault her personality. He tells Cromwell he wants a way out of it, and there doesn't seem to be one. And while we're not going to talk too much about Cromwell, we know that's a bit of a turning point for him. At this point, Anne is either an incredible actress or just blissfully unaware of Henry's dislike due to the difficulties in the language barrier. I mean, it could be both. I do think she's a very good actress as well. They go through various meetings, public outings and pageants together. So they come together formally at Blackheath to huge celebration. She says all the things that he wants to hear in perfect English. She's really practiced, praising him publicly. And they make a very good public show. And again, at Greenwich, we have the pageants and the welcoming, and they seem to be a very happy couple. On the 3rd of January, which is the eve of what should be the wedding, Henry is desperate for a way out of this. He calls his council and says, you've got to do something here. You've got to find me a way out. So what they do is they go back to, and if you're not familiar with this, go back to day 3 of my Anne of Cleves videos. They go back to this initial engagement to Francis, and they think if we can find that she's still engaged to him, we can call it all off. So they call up her two, they don't call up, they call forth her two ambassadors and say, show us the documents immediately that prove she is not engaged to Francis, the Duke of Lorraine. These two say, we don't have that on us. I mean, they probably should have done, in fairness, but it's been, this engagement was dissolved so long ago, they haven't got it. They insist that they need to see it. They can't get that in time. So, but the fact that they swear that this is true, and that Anne also swears that this is true, they do go to Anne and hope that she might say, oh no, I'm still engaged. Obviously that doesn't happen. But all these people make a promise, so he's out of luck on that one, really. He can't find a loophole. So this obviously causes some delay, which worries Anne. She doesn't really know what's going on. Again, the language barrier seems to have protected her in some ways, but also kept her in the dark. So 6th of January comes around and the wedding day is finally there. She's supposed to be met and taken to meet Henry by the Earl of Essex. He's late. He hasn't shown up. Cromwell is sent in his stead, but they arrive at the same time. Cromwell then heads back to Henry. It's still quite early. Henry and Anne don't actually meet at the church until 8 a.m. in the morning. I say until. It's quite early, is it? Considering they've already done mass and all that sort of thing. So an early start. Cromwell goes back to Henry. Henry is not in a good mood. Not in a good mood at all. But he goes through with it. He meets Anne. So Anne has her long fair hair down. She's wearing a gold dress. Henry also wears gold, and obviously she's very embellished. So she's got on the most special dress that she has saved for the occasion, and they do have their wedding. But as we know, they're not going to be married all that long. So I will see you tomorrow when we're already going to be talking about separation and annulment. So I will see you then.